President Biden meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping yesterday for nearly 3 hours in Bali, Indonesia. The president touching on issues like the war in Ukraine, Taiwan, and North Korean missile threats, but not mentioning COVID-19 origins or the fentanyl crisis at all.
Joining us now for reaction is Senior Fellow for the America First Policy Institute and Newsmax contributor, Fred Fleitz. Fred, I want to get your take on President Biden's remarks yesterday after meeting with the Chinese leader for nearly 3 hours.
Well, it was a strange summit. There was a brief meeting together before the summit, but afterwards, there was no joint press conference. There was no joint statement. Biden claims things were discussed in the meeting, such as North Korea, that a nuclear war should never be fought. But the Chinese statement didn't say that. We're not really sure what was agreed to. The Chinese had a statement, and I read all of it. They talk about that this is an inflection point in history, that Xi explained his position on Taiwan. He would like a negotiated settlement to Ukraine. I'm glad they met, but I think the Biden administration probably begged the Chinese for a meeting. This is the best they could do. And it is a shame the two leaders didn't come out later and discuss exactly what they agreed to.
Yeah, Fred, and over 1 million Americans have died from COVID-19. It came from China. These are the facts. These are not in dispute. Whether it came from a wet market or a lab a mile up the road, that is in dispute, although many now think that, yes, it probably came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. How do you not bring that up? And then fentanyl, we got 300 overdose deaths a day. So 300 Americans died yesterday, 300 more will die today. The majority of that fentanyl is coming over the southern border, and it's made in China. President Biden doesn't mention that once to the leader of China?
He should have mentioned this, and in the statement, he should have made it clear in Biden's statement that he made a big point about this. I don't think the Biden administration is interested in confronting the Chinese on any serious issues. It seems like Biden spent most of his time talking about climate change, finding a new way to cooperate. Let's be clear. The Chinese have no intention of cooperating in climate change. This is simply going through the motions so they can get what they want to do. I'm glad the two of them met. There was an announcement the Secretary of State will visit China early next year. Why hasn't he visited China before now? And, you and I have talked about this before. There have been almost no negotiations, no discussions between the U.S. and Russia, U.S. and China. Whether we agree or not, why has the dialogue been absent? I just think this is another element of the incredible incompetence of this administration.
Yeah, Fred, one of the biggest issues on hand was the subject of Taiwan, in which Biden didn't seem worried about. Take a listen.
I've met many times with Xi Jinping, and we were candid and clear with one another across the board. And I do not think there's any imminent attempt on the part of China to invade Taiwan. And I made it clear that our policy on Taiwan has not changed at all. It's the same exact position we've had. I made it clear that we want to see cross-strait issues peacefully resolved, and so it never has to come to that.
Fred, so the president doesn't seem concerned. He's trusting what the Chinese president is saying, which a lot of people say you should not trust him. What do you make of these comments?
They don't track what the Chinese statement says. The Chinese were very, very clear and aggressive on their rights to Taiwan. They make this clear in their statement. So Biden seems to be talking about the world he wishes rather than the world that actually exists here. There's growing tension concerning Taiwan. China looks like it is preparing its military for an invasion. Right. And I don't think anything happened at this meeting to the contrary.
Yeah, to dissuade that. I hope it doesn't happen. But Joe Biden will eat those words if China does invade Taiwan at some point in the not-so-distant future. Fred, just about 15 seconds. We're going to play a video. This is Joe Biden when he first went to shake President Xi's hand. Very bizarre. Chinese culture, this means a lot more than it does here, but it's pretty clear. Joe Biden makes a long walk across the, I think we can probably cue it up from the start again. President Xi stands still. Joe Biden walks all the way over to him, almost like Joe Biden is the junior partner in the relationship. What did you make of that?
I think that's exactly the way people should read it, and compare this to the way President Trump dealt with every foreign leader. You knew who the great power was, who was in charge of the meeting. It is simply another sign of weakness. It's body language. I don't know why his advisors would allow the meeting to start this way.
Yeah, and apparently this is being played on Chinese state media over and over and over. The American president walking too. Don't forget, it's a cultural thing. in China. But fascinating. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that would have been the same thing if Donald Trump were president. He might run for president again. We'll find out tonight.
Can I mention one other thing? What
Sure.
really concerned me about this meeting is how Biden talked about China as a great competitor we want to work with to make the world more peaceful.
Yeah.
And in the same speech, he condemned Republicans for political violence and voter intimidation. How a president could say that on foreign soil. And, after an election, you're supposed to bury the hatchet. And to say something so awful, so divisive in front of countries that do not have free elections, I just thought it was reprehensible.
Yeah, it's very bizarre that he did that thousands of miles away a week after an election here. Fred, we've got to leave it there. Good seeing you. Thanks so much for your time.